Oh geez, it seems like every freaking year they have to come out with another one of these crazy possession movies. You know what? Let's just go ahead and get this over with. The possession of Hannah. Wait, what the hell just happened? This shit can't be real, right? Holy, why did my freaking colors change? I swear to God, I'll be as fair as I can possibly be in this review, okay? Just give me a chance here. Give me a chance. Ah! The Possession of Hannah Grace stars Shay Mitchell, Kirby Johnson, and is directed by Diedrich Van Rooyen. What's up, guys? The Possession of Hannah Grace is a movie that I just heard about, I think, a week ago. And it's one of those possession movies, and I wasn't going to bother going to see it. But then I thought, you know what? Why not go ahead and give it a chance? Why not go ahead and try a horror movie that critics are probably just going to blast? You know, try to just, I guess, think of it like Slender Man. I went into Slender Man knowing that that movie was going to be complete crap, and it ended up being the worst of the year. So I guess that was my motivation in this one is, can this be worse than Slender Man? It is absolutely not. But if you look at the Rotten Tomatoes rating on this thing, it's pretty damn bleak. So I went into this with the freaking lowest expectations that you can possibly muster up. And I'll just go ahead and say, guys, it ain't that bad. It definitely has its problems, but we will get into that. But first, quick plot synopsis. Our main character, played by Shay Mitchell, Megan, she used to be a cop, and then she had a problem with addiction. You know, when you're a cop and you deal with everything day to day that you have to deal with, it could cause some issues mentally. And, you know, I completely buy that. You know, she's trying to pick up the pieces of her life. She's at the end of a troubled relationship with her boyfriend, Andrew, played by Gray Damon. But she ends up getting this job in this morgue. You know, she works at nights, and she basically is just an innkeeper. She receives bodies that come in, and then she analyzes them. But there is this cadaver that comes in, Hannah Grace. This is where the movie starts getting really interesting, because this body comes in and it is just completely burned, cut up, and right away she can tell that something is a little rotten in Denmark with this. This is not your normal body that comes in. And how rough would it be if this, you know, your first day on the new job and then you got to deal with this demon? So really that's what this movie is. It's a single location premise, and the whole movie just takes place in the morgue. And one thing that I really dug about this movie, actually, is that this, correct me if I'm wrong, might be the first possession movie that really is also a slasher. That was a nice surprise, because I'm a big slasher fan. And the premise of this movie is that this demon that takes this body is picking off people one by one and really ultimately trying to escape. And what's interesting about this movie, you know, I looked it up, it's a really low budget movie. These little horror movies, usually, you know, you're done in like $10 million. And that's pretty much what it costs to make this one. But what I found interesting was this entire movie was shot on a Sony DSLR, the A7S II. And let me just say, I would have never guessed that, because it does look glorious, actually. I like the dark lighting in this movie. Just from a cinematography standpoint, this looks great for a horror film. I mean, this is exactly how you want a horror film to be lit. Also, I like the addiction theme in this. You know, if you remember, the Evil Dead remake dealt with this. And it was a good way to justify why the main character was stuck in that cabin. Well, this was pretty interesting as well, because the character Hannah Grace, who the demon possesses, you know, this is a weak person, and demons tend to prey on the weak. And so there's this question throughout the movie of, why is this demon keeping our main character, Megan, alive? And the reason is because she has problems with addiction. Hannah Grace had problems with depression. So this demon could go from body to body and hopefully eventually go to Megan. And I also mentioned that this is a slasher movie. I've really had my complaints about possession movies in the past. How do you dare compete with The Exorcist? That is really the climb that a lot of these possession movies have. You know, they're constantly going to be compared to The Exorcist. So you got to do something to step outside of the norm, to get creative. And I thought what the writer did with this movie was actually pretty damn interesting and creative. To set this whole movie inside a morgue and make it a slasher movie. Because I like my killers, you know, whatever the evil is in the movie, I like it to feel real, you know. I don't like it to be this apparition, this ghost. I actually like that Hannah throughout this movie is this naked girl crawling in the dark and scaring the shit out of whoever her prey is throughout. And let me just say, there are some creepy moments in this movie, actually. It doesn't depend on jump scares. There are scenes where the cadaver is just laying there and the camera just rests on the cadaver and you're kind of waiting for it to jump, to strike. And a lot of times it doesn't. Just it sitting there is creepy as hell. And I will say, it does take a while for this thing to really get going. You know, it's a pretty patient movie, actually. And I kept saying to myself, please don't tell me that this whole movie is really going to be just more of a mind trip type of thing and we don't really see the demon. Because sometimes what you don't see works, but sometimes you want to see it. And that's what I wanted in this movie. I wanted to see the demon come out, to get pretty bloody. And thankfully, there are some pretty damn bloody scenes actually in this movie. Especially one scene on a rooftop. I thought that one was handled really well. Really every scene when the demon kills the prey. You get to hear the bones cracking and they don't really hold back, which is nice. And just from a visual standpoint, you know, this naked, frail girl with these burns and these cuts all over her, and she's crawling like an animal. I think it works. Now, there are some definite cons in this movie. I think I would have liked to have known a little bit more about the demon, maybe give me a little bit more of the past. And also maybe set up some of the rules, you know, because every possession movie, or really just every horror movie, they have their own rules that they set up. And a lot of times throughout the movie, I wasn't sure if the demon could teleport, you know, the demon could levitate bodies and snap their backs and all that stuff. That was great stuff, but you know, sometimes the demon would be here, and then in the next scene it would be inside the tray that goes into, you know, the cadaver bay. A lot of that stuff, you know, had me scratching my head. I think if they would have tightened up the script a little bit, this would have been actually really good. And also the characters in this movie, nothing to write home about. You know, most of them are throwaway characters. They are set up to be killed. You got this one guy that looks just like Carrot Top, and he's pretty much just there to be horror fodder. So I didn't walk away from this, you know, thinking, wow, I really loved that character. Even the main character, Megan, she's serviceable. I do like the addiction story. And Shay Mitchell, she does a decent job. But really the big thing was the premise of this movie. And the demon played by Kirby Johnson. She had to go through some crazy shit in this movie. And I don't know if she's a contortionist or not, or if a lot of that was CGI. I'm sure it was. But she was pretty damn creepy sometimes. So anyway, guys, I'm going to give this movie just a straight up humdrum, which is a good thing for me. It surprised me. I thought for sure I was going to come out and say this was one of the worst of the year. And it's not, actually. I think it's somewhere in the middle. So I'd say check it out if you're a horror fan. You know, there's a lot of people that aren't going to like this movie. I can understand why the audience rating is low because possession movies, it is really a niche subgenre. So there's a lot of people that probably aren't going to like this movie. But I found it interesting. Also being that the possession subgenre is one of my least favorite genres of horror. So have you seen The Possession of Hannah Grace? Let me know in the comments. Also guys, I just updated my Drumdums main page and I put my Christmas horror list on there. So if you click on that playlist, you can check out all my horror reviews, Christmas reviews. I love Christmas horror movies. And I plan on doing a few Christmas horror reviews during this month. Any that you'd like to see me do, post down in the comments, let me know. Also, come over to Killer Flicks where we talk horror all day and every day, and on Fridays we do Free For All Fridays. Follow me at Drumdums on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, and Drumdum out.